This is Matthew Cratter from Bitcoin University. Today I want to talk about US dollar stablecoins and exporting US toxic sludge. This video is a follow-up to two other videos that were about the petrodollar, which I'll link to in the description notes below. First this one, the death of the petrodollar, and then Petrodollars, Bitcoin, and the Fed. So to summarize and bring everyone up to speed, in 1974 an agreement was made between the US and the Saudis, this petrodollar deal, in which the Saudis agreed to sell crude oil only for US dollars, and the Saudis also agreed to use their profits from this, their trade surplus, to buy US Treasuries, which are US government debt. Follow-up in 2001, the US and China made a manufacturing deal, and China really made a deal with the whole world when China was accepted into the WTO, the World Trade Organization, in 2001 and became a manufacturing hub for the whole world. Now, China agreed to use its profits from these trade surpluses, just like the Saudis, also to buy US Treasuries. Now, when Saudi Arabia, China, or other trade partners buy US Treasuries, it helps to keep interest rates lower in the US, and this makes houses more affordable by lowering mortgage interest rates, and also allows for refinancing at lower rates, all of which helps to increase US consumer spending. It also makes US consumer debt more affordable, and a US consumer with the ability to borrow more cheaply can then spend more money on gasoline, energy from Saudi Arabia, imports from China, etc. So this is really a virtuous cycle, or a virtuous circle of petrodollar recycling and East Asian trade surplus recycling. Now, when China realized in the early 2010s that the US had revved up the money printers and basically bailed out the US banks at the expense of foreign holders of US Treasuries in the wake of the great financial crisis, China began to reduce its holdings of US Treasuries and instead divert its profits, its trade surplus, into things like the Belt and Road Initiative. So this is holdings of US Treasuries by China. We can see they were basically non-existent in the early 2000s. Then China joins the WTO, and really for the next 10 years, there's a huge ramp up in China's holdings of US Treasuries that peaks sometime in 2011, call it. And at that point, China begins to shrink its overall holdings of Treasury securities and instead funnels the money into buying infrastructure, buying mines, buying trains, etc., buying airports through the Belt and Road Initiative, mainly in East Asia, in Southeast Asia, in South America, and in Africa as well. If you're finding this video enjoyable so far, I just ask you to help to support the channel. Click the subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, question, suggestion for a future video, and share this video with a friend or family member. Now, when foreign central banks and nation states don't buy enough US Treasuries, enough US government debt, then the Fed, which is the US central bank, needs to step in and buy the excess, make up the difference with printed US dollars. And the problem with this is this further devalues the US dollar against real goods and services, causing inflation and political unrest, as we've been seeing for the past couple of years. These are the holdings of US Treasuries by this is total assets, so this includes mortgage backs as well, but this is basically holdings of US Treasuries by the Fed, and we can see this is the exact opposite chart of the Chinese chart of Chinese holdings of US Treasuries, which has been shrinking as the Fed has been forced to make up the difference. Now, US Treasuries are toxic sludge, and without this Fed put behind them, they would be priced basically like junk bonds, since they're issued by a sovereign that's run by a dysfunctional management team that changes every 4 years, but remains consistently incompetent, and most importantly, never shrinks the deficits and never shrinks the issuance of debt. This is a sovereign whose annual interest payments now exceed its spending on defense. Pause to think about that. We're spending more on interest payments on US debt than we're spending on defense. If you have to rely on borrowing money from China or the Fed's money printers, which devalue the currency, if you have to rely on either of these partners to finance your defense spending while relying on China's supply chain for defense components, your very sovereignty is at risk. And this is the situation the U.S. finds itself in now, where the national debt interest now costs more than either Medicare or defense. The largest budget item still is Social Security, but then it's national debt interest. So the U.S. desperately needs someone new to help soak up its endless issuance of toxic sludge debt now that the petrodollar thing is going away and now that China is buying fewer U.S. Treasuries. Now, what's always the best place for developed nations to dump their toxic waste? Developing nations, of course. This is the old plan. Toxic waste dumping in the third world, it used to be called. So enter Paul Ryan, former Speaker of the House under Obama and Trump, and now an advisor to a shitcoin venture capital firm, which is called Paradigm, and Paul Ryan sits on the Paradigm Policy Council. So it's important to know that this may be one reason he's interested in this. But Paul Ryan has just published an article in the Wall Street Journal, Crypto Could Stave Off a U.S. Debt Crisis. And his basic thesis is this: we might start by taking stablecoins seriously. According to the Treasury Department and DeFi Llama, a cryptocurrency analytics site, dollar-backed stablecoins are becoming an important net purchaser of U.S. government debt, of U.S. Treasuries. If fiat-backed dollar stablecoin issuers were a country, it would sit just outside the top 10 in countries holding treasuries, smaller than Hong Kong but larger than Saudi Arabia. If the sector continues to grow, stablecoins could become one of the largest purchasers of U.S. government debt and a reliable source of new demand for this toxic sludge, I might add. At the end of 2023, Tether, which is the largest issuer of U.S. dollar stablecoins, held $63 billion worth of U.S. Treasuries, and their competitor, which is USDC, the USDC stablecoin, those funds are invested with the Circle Reserve Fund here, and we can see that it also owns billions and billions of dollars of U.S. Treasuries. If we take a look at how this compares, Japan is still the largest holder of U.S. Treasuries, followed by China. They've been shrinking, United Kingdom, etc., all the way down here to Mexico, which holds $89 billion worth of U.S. Treasuries. So this really is the same order of magnitude as what Tether holds, holding $63 billion. And so if the U.S. dollar stablecoin market expands, we could see a lot more purchasing of U.S. Treasuries by these issuers. So what are we seeing here? We're seeing as petrodollar recycling and East Asian trade surplus recycling continues to wind down, leading to less demand for the U.S. dollar and U.S. Treasuries. What Paul Ryan is suggesting here is suggesting that aggressively growing the supply of U.S. dollar stablecoins could provide a fresh new source of demand for U.S. Treasuries, since stablecoin issuers usually buy a lot of them to back their coins. So on the positive side of things, U.S. dollar stablecoins do give people in developing countries access to a currency, U.S. dollars, that usually holds its value much, much better than local currencies. Of all the fiat currencies, the U.S. dollar and maybe the Swiss franc are probably the most slowly sinking ships, although all fiat currencies are sinking ships. On the negative side of things, though, pushing U.S. dollar stablecoins may, at least temporarily, undermine the Bitcoin revolution. What these people in developing countries really need for the long term is Bitcoin. It's not U.S. dollars. Or are stablecoins an entry drug that leads eventually to more people holding more Bitcoin? Perhaps, especially if they use wallets like the Aqua Wallet, which we've talked about on this channel before. The Aqua Wallet allows you to easily swap between U.S. dollar stablecoins like Tether and on-chain Bitcoin, liquid Bitcoin that trades on the Liquid network, and Bitcoin on Lightning as well. I'll put a link in the description notes below if you want to play around with this wallet on your phone. It's a great wallet, and I enjoy using it. However this stablecoin thing ends up playing out, one thing is clear: those who hold U.S. dollars and U.S. Treasuries, and by extension U.S. dollar stablecoins or U.S. dollars in any form, in digital form in your bank account or in physical form, all will continue to lose purchasing power against real goods and services, as we've been seeing for the last century since the launch of the Federal Reserve, the U.S. central bank. It's completely destroyed the U.S. currency, and this doesn't even show the damage that's happened since 2020, which has been enormous. There's only one real lifeboat out there, and that is Bitcoin. This is a lifeboat from people who are exiting fiat, whether it's the dollar, the pound, the euro, or local currencies in developing countries. If you enjoyed this video, consider supporting the channel by purchasing a channel membership. You can get this by going to any of my videos, like this video. There should be a join button below. If you're on an app on mobile, you may need to click instead. I'll put a link in the description notes below right here, and I'll also pin a link in the top comment. And if you click on this, you'll see there are two membership tiers. There's Humble Bitcoin Pleb for just $2.99 per month. You get some loyalty badges. You also get some custom emojis to use in comments. I've just added the Gary Gensler emoji, the Screaming Elizabeth Warren emoji, Cat Bitcoin, Sailor, with his laser eyes, Jerome Powell the clown, an Ethereum holder being laughed at. Those are all different custom emojis you can use, as well as the Toxic Bitcoin Maxi level for just $4.99 per month, where you get a couple members-only videos every month as well. So if you enjoy this channel, consider supporting it that way. When people purchase this, it helps to boost my reach with the YouTube algorithm as well. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a suggestion for a future video, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.